Okay, we are here with Mark Edwards, a British thriller author who co-authors his novels with Louise Voss. And Mark and Louise first published their books on the Kindle in 2011 and were then picked up by a major publisher. So, hi Mark.
Hi.
Hi. You have a fascinating story that I don't want to butcher the rest of it. So, if you're not too sick of telling this story, if you could just go ahead and give us a brief overview of your publishing journey to date and where you're at now.
Okay, well, I could go on about it for hours, but the very brief version is that Louise and I spent a long time, years, trying to get a publishing deal for our co-written books. We wrote Killing Cupid back in 2002. That's our stalker novel. We actually got that option by BBC television, but it never got made and it never got published. Then we wrote another one called Catch Your Death. That was in 2006. Tried to get an agent, tried the usual story. We didn't get anywhere with it. And then we pretty much gave up because I'd spent by this point years, more than a decade, trying to get published. Louise had a book deal. She published 4 books, but none of them had done particularly well, and she'd been dropped by a publisher. And I think we just got fed up with all the kind of rejection, and we had decent jobs, and so we just gave up. And I was starting to have kids, and there just seemed like there were more important things in life than constantly battering your head against a brick wall trying to get a deal. So about 4 years later, 2010, my girlfriend bought me a Kindle, and I was looking online and starting to read about these authors. People like, I think Amanda Hocking was just starting to emerge at that point, and there'd been a couple of others who had some success. And I thought, well, why don't we put our books onto Kindle? We've got nothing to lose. See how it goes. And Louise was quite against the idea. She thought it would be humiliating that we'd sell 2 copies, and it was just a bit of a waste of time. And the books needed to be rewritten because they were quite out of date by this point. But I persuaded her that it was worth giving it a go. We spent about 6 months rewriting them. Got my sister-in-law to design the cover, and then in February 2011 we stuck Killing Cupid up onto Kindle. And then I spent the next few months basically hammering away on blogs, doing guest blogs, on social networks, on forums, whatever I could think of, trying to get people to take an interest, to know that this book existed. And slowly pushed it up the charts until it entered. It took about 3 months to get into the top 100 on Amazon.co.uk. Then we released Catch Your Death at the beginning of May 2011, and suddenly everything started to go a bit crazy. Like, Catch Your Death shot up the charts. It took about 2 weeks to go from nowhere into the top 100, and then one weekend at the beginning of June, it was just amazing. Catch Your Death went from nowhere up into the top 20, Killing Cupid following up behind it. And that week, Catch Your Death went to number 1, Killing Cupid went to number 2. We were number 1 and 2 on Amazon.co.uk at the same time, and selling a couple of thousand copies a day. And it was amazing. It was like dreams come true after all these years of struggling and trying to get anybody interested in our books. We thought, well, maybe we should actually be trying to find an agent and trying to find a publisher, which we hadn't really thought about until that point. And in fact, an agent got in touch with us, somebody that we'd submitted Catch Your Death to 5 years before, And he emailed us and said, "Oh, but I think perhaps I was a bit too hasty in
You
turning it
think?
down." Which is great. We had 2 or 3 agents wanting to take us on, but we chose this guy Sam Copeland because we met him. He was like, we need to act fast.
Right.
He got the book out to all of the British publishers, really within a few days of him taking us on. We also had somebody at Trident Media in the US trying to sell it for us at the same time. So we had 2 agents, one in the UK and one in the US, both trying to get deals simultaneously. But then within about a week of that happening, our UK agent got an offer for world rights from HarperCollins. And we actually turned the first offer down because we thought we could get a little bit more out of them. Very nerve-wracking moments, and luckily they did come back with a better offer, which we accepted because by this point we were like, we can't take it anymore.
You've got
it was fantastic. Well,
I mean, good for you for sure, but
we were told that they would back out. They wouldn't back out.
Yeah. Okay.
They might have increased the offer, but they weren't going to back out.
Okay.
So we were okay.
Yeah.
And I mean, we just had this amazing couple of weeks. We were on British TV. We were on the radio. We were in the newspapers. We got a book deal. I mean, it's all happened within like 2 weeks. I mean, I think we were the first of this new wave of.
Right.
In Britain's always a bit behind America. It's always at least 6 months behind. And you'd had Amanda Hocking and John Locke and some of the other big success stories over there already. And then there was us, and there's been a few others since, like a guy called Kerry Wilkinson he sold a lot more than us actually. He came along about 6 months later. And yeah, I think it's the publishing landscape's being transformed actually. This new way of publishers finding writers, which is great. January this year, the paperback, which is here it is, of Catch Your Death, came out. I don't know whether you can see. Is that in mirror writing? It probably is.
No,
anyway.
no. Well, at the moment I can see it and it's perfect. Yeah. So
okay,
that's
Catch
Your Death.
Catch Your Death paperback of that came out in January. And then the next one, Killing Cupid, because they published them in a different order than we did.
Right.
It's out in August the 2nd.
Oh, wonderful.
And they're obviously ebooks as well. But it's getting that. That was my dream, I think, getting that.
Hold it.
Although it's wonderful things, having a paperback,
yeah.
having something you can actually hold is still a great